Good. Good morning. Welcome to the Santa Barbara County Planning Commission meeting of August 9th, 2017. Please join us for the flag salute. Commissioner Farini will lead us. Good morning, Mr. Villalobos. Welcome to the North County. Could you call the roll, please, and give us the TV coverage announcement?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Planning Commission hearings are televised live on County of Santa Barbara Television, CSB TV, Channel 20 at 9 a.m. in the South Coast, Wampo, San Ynez Valley, Santa Maria, and Orchid areas. Rebroadcasts of Planning Commission hearings are on Fridays at 5 p.m. on CSB TV Channel 20. Today's hearing will also be streamed live on CSB TV's website and will be available for download in a day or two. Now for the roll call. Commissioner St. John?
Here.
Commissioner Blau?
Here.
Commissioner Farini?
Here.
Commissioner Brown?
Here.
And Chair Cooney?
I'm here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Villalobos. Good morning, Ms. Black. You have the status report and projection report.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. This morning we have 2 consent items on your agenda and 1 regular item, and we're ready to move forward with all of those. In terms of your projection report, we won't be meeting again until August 30th in Santa Barbara. And you can see we've got several items on that day. And I believe that our intention is to take those items in the order on which they show up on the projection report. So we'll start with the Golden Inn project. I actually need to step out for that item. Then the SKIT tentative parcel map, and then finally the Tejas landfill, which I understand one of the commissioners is going to recuse herself on. So everybody can sort of plan their day. That's my intention. Last week you canceled your hearing of September 6th. So we will meet again on September 13th in Santa Maria. And you can see we've got a couple of, well, a permit item and then the briefing on cannabis, as well as consideration of the non-conforming status determination process and amortization period for cannabis. And then we put the CEQA training on, which we've moved, and we'll just see if we have time to take that up or not. But I thought it might work that day. September 27th would be your next hearing in Santa Barbara, and you can see that there's a couple of permit items on that day, as well as the APCD greenhouse gas mitigation program update. And that's kind of as far as the projection report goes. I did want to alert your commission to a request that I received to pass along to you, and that was from the Agricultural Commissioner. She was asked by the Agricultural Advisory Committee if we could schedule a joint meeting with the Planning Commission for the Ag Advisory Committee and the Planning Commission to talk about communications, collaborations, and whatnot with regard to land use projects involving agriculture. So I wanted to see if the Commission was willing to do that, and if so, to look at a few dates that might work for your Commission, and then we'll ask the Ag Advisory Committee as well.
Your suggestion is that we find a special date for that hearing?
I think, Mr. Chair, I think we could do it on a Wednesday. I just, the only day that doesn't work for the Agricultural Advisory Committee is the first Wednesday of the month, because they also meet that day. So we can pick a couple of dates that might work for the Commission, and then check back with the Ag Advisory Committee and see what might work for them.
Okay, should we do that now?
Sure.
Okay. Is anyone opposed to the idea of a joint meeting? I don't see any. Commissioner Brown, you're okay with that?
Yes.
Sorry. I wasn't watching. Okay. So any suggestions, Ms. Black?
Well, Mr. Chair, I would say Probably the earliest date that looks like it might be available is September 27th, so we could suggest that. I would imagine this would be an hour or two item, not a full day item. So September 27th could work. I hesitate to suggest October 11th since Commissioner Brown won't be here. So then the next would be October 25th. We could provide a couple of options to the Agricultural Advisory Committee. Is that okay? 27th is fine. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
So
we'll
let's
see.
shoot-
We'll
let's
see
shoot
when
for
they're
the
available.
27 and offer the 25th as a backup.
Great. And if the commission wants to think about items that you would like to discuss with the Advisory Committee, maybe we can talk about that at our next hearing on August 30th. Hopefully by then I don't know if I'll know when. I don't think they meet again until September 6th, so I may not know what the hearing date is, but at least we can talk about potential agenda items that you'd like to entertain.
All right, thank you very much.
Great.
This is the time in each of our meetings where we invite the public to comment on matters of interest to the public and the Planning Commission, other than those which are on today's agenda. Do we have any slips to speak, Commissioner St. John? Nothing? I don't see anyone rising. And Commissioner Brown?
And
just-
none here.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll move from public comment to Planning Commissioner informational reports. Anyone have anything to add or share? Again, not seeing any. We'll go to the director's report. Do we have Dr. Russell in Santa Barbara?
Mr. Chair, no, Dr. Russell's on vacation. And I don't have any board items to report because the board's been on recess since your last hearing. They come back into session on August 22nd, and on that day, I think the biggest item that might be of interest to your commission is the Goleta Beach permit option item, which is not an item that our department is bringing forward, but that Community Services is, and we'll have some interesting discussions, I think, at the board. And then on August 29th, they'll be taking up the Rancho La Laguna, excuse me, Rancho La Laguna appeal from your commission's action. The other interesting hearing to note is the Coastal Commission's hearing. They will be meeting tomorrow in Calabasas to consider certification of the Eastern Goleta Valley Community Plan. And we will be attending that hearing. So it'd be nice to get that plan finished. And I think that's all I have to report unless the commission has questions.
Are there questions for Ms. Black this morning? Commissioner Brown?
No, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Black. We will then go to our consent agenda. First item is C1. Mr. Villalobos, if you'd read that into the record.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The following is a hearing on the request of John Will, agent for B3 LLC, owner, to consider case number 17-TEX12, application filed on June 6, 2017, for a one-year time extension to July 31st, 2018, for case number 09-DVP29, 09-CUP38, and 09-TPM4, and to accept the previously adopted mitigated negative declaration, case number 11-NGD3, as adequate environmental review for case number 17-TEX12 pursuant to section 15162 of the state guidelines for implementation of the California Environmental Quality Act.
This is 4th District item. Commissioner Freeney, are you prepared to move forward?
Before you start, I need to, I'm going to be abstaining from voting on this item, and if you pull the item from the agenda, I'll need to leave the room. The partners in this project, the people in this project are my partners. I will likely be a partner in the project, be building it, so I will need to recuse myself. But if you're just going to act on the consent item, I will just simply abstain from voting, and that'll do it. So I just need to know if you're going to pull the item or not, so I know if I need to leave or not.
Okay, thank you. Back to you.
Okay. Yeah, I am ready to move forward with approving staff's recommendation.
Any commissioner feel they should take this off the consent agenda? Not seeing any. All right, go ahead with the motion then, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. So,
Let me ask for any public comment on item C1, just to cover our bases. Not seeing any. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
okay. So I would move that we follow the staff's recommendation on page 2 of the August 9th proposal, item C1.
Very good. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Commissioner St. John?
Second.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Villalobos. If you'll call the roll.
Commissioner St. John,
Aye.
Commissioner Farini,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Blau,
Abstaining.
and Chair Cooney.
Aye.
Motion passes 401.
Very good. Next, we have item C2, the North Point Unit 3 Phase 4 Development Plan Extension.
The following is a hearing on the request of Jason Tamura, agent to owner Leo Evans, to consider case number 17TEX10, application filed on May 26, 2017, for a one-year time extension for case number 98DP023, and to accept the previously adopted Environmental Impact Report 78 EIR 9, supplement document 92 SD2, and addendum to 78 EIR 9 as adequate environmental review for case number 17TEX10 pursuant to section 15162 of the state guidelines for implementation of the California Environmental Quality Act.
I neglected last item to ask for ex parte declarations or other matters. Are there any, Commissioner Farini?
No.
Not seeing anyone else. Okay. How would you like to proceed with this one?
For this item, I would approve the staff's recommendation on the consent agenda.
All right. We do have one speaker, Steve Walker. Mr. Walker, please approach.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Steve Walker. I'm the president of the Village of North Point Homeowners Association. I'm here to call your attention to approval condition 13, which requires mutually acceptable provisions for control, management, maintenance, repair, etc. of shared common areas.
Sir, can you just make sure to pull the mic
Oh,
closer
I'm
to your
sorry.
mouth? Thank you.
I'm here to discuss approval condition 13, which calls for agreement between the existing homeowners association and the new homeowners association, which Mr. Evans intends to form. We did come to a mediated agreement in April of 2012, and that should be the thing that is addressed by approval condition 13. Was signed by Mr. Evans, ourselves, and the county. And I already contacted our planner, Ms. Von Klan, regarding this, and she said that that was intact. And given that the applicant and planning commission continue to maintain that, we have no objection to the one-year time extension to the applicant's plan.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Walker. So, Commissioner Farini, we probably ought to ask staff to confirm what Mr. Walker just indicated with regard to that provision. Good morning, Mr. Zorovich. And you want to introduce our new staff member?
I was just going to do that. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, with us today is Ms. Gwen Von Klan. She joined us approximately 6 months ago and is working in the North County Development Review Office and is the planner on this project.
Very good. Welcome. So our question is, as you heard Mr. Walker testify, with regard to this project, one of the conditions has been, according to him, satisfied and intact if we grant this extension. Can you verify that?
Mr. Chair, yes, I can verify that. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions of staff? Any further questions? Any additional public comment? This is the only public comments slip we have so far, but if anyone else wants to address the commission before we take action on this matter. Not seeing anything further from staff? No. Okay. Mr. Freen.
So I would move that we follow staff's recommendation on page 2 of the staff report.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Blau. Any further discussion among the commission?
Just make one point.
Go ahead, Commissioner Blau.
Yeah, just so you know, rest assured the Department of Real Estate, when they issue their public report, will make sure that that maintenance agreement is intact. You don't, as a county, we don't really need to worry about it, to tell you the truth. The state of California will take care of you. Trust me on this one.
Okay. Any further discussion? Commissioner Brown, anything to add?
No, sir.
Okay, then we are ready for the roll call.
Commissioner St. John,
Aye.
Commissioner Blau,
Aye.
Commissioner Farini,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
and Chair Cooney.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, do we need any setup time for item 1? Are we ready to go? Go ahead. and read
Mr.
that.
Chair, we just need like one moment, and we'll be ready.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. The following is a hearing on the request of the Cuyama Community Services District to consider case number 16 CUP 32 and 17 RVP 65. Applications filed on December 22nd, 2016 and July 6, 2017, and to accept as adequate the net mitigated negative declaration, State Clearinghouse number 20141111043, and to determine that pursuant to CEQA section 15162, no subsequent EIR or ND needs to be prepared.
Good morning, Ms. Edie. Are you ready to proceed?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I think we are just about ready.
Okay.
So the project that I'm presenting to your commission this morning is a request by the Cuyama Community Services District to revise their existing development plan. And there's also a conditional use permit as well to build 2 new evaporation ponds on an adjacent lot. So this is the vicinity map. The site is located adjacent to Highway 166, and it's approximately 1/2 mile northwest of the town of New Cuyama. And this slide shows the location of the 2 parcels involved in the project. The Cuyama CSD's wastewater treatment plant is located on the smaller 10-acre parcel. And then the other parcel, just located east of the site, or excuse me, west of the site, is owned by Sunridge Vineyards, and it's approximately 64 acres in size. And that parcel is primarily used for agriculture. The existing Cuyama CSD wastewater treatment plant was permitted with a development plan by the Board of Supervisors in 1999, and the board's approval also included rezoning the property from agriculture to the current zoning of public utility. And surrounding lots that are adjacent to the site are zoned Ag 2100, as well as public utility and highway commercial. The Salisbury Creek and Branch Canyon Wash run through the property from northwest to southeast, and these creeks are dry during most times of the year, and they typically only flow during rain events. Access to the property is provided by an existing driveway right here. And this is a photo of the existing entrance into the wastewater treatment plant. And then access to the Sunridge Vineyards property is also directly from Highway 166, and that's from the in the the southeast corner of that parcel. In 2013, the Cuyama CSD received a notice of violation from the Central Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board regarding the discharge of treated wastewater into the adjacent creeks on the site. In order to eliminate discharge into the creeks, the project proposes to direct the treated wastewater into 3 new evaporation ponds. So the development plan for the wastewater treatment plant would be revised to include the construction of a new evaporation pond, Pond 1, which is located here. And this is a photo of the area looking east towards New Cuyama, where that pond would be located. The revision also includes the construction of a treated effluent wet well located on the northern portion of the property. And this is a photo of the site, and the wet well actually they have started construction on the wet well, and you can see that structure on the right-hand side of this photo. The proposed conditional use permit would permit the construction of 2 new evaporation ponds within a 5.4-acre easement area on the adjacent parcel to the west. So this is the location of Pond 2A, and this is Pond 2B. And then here's a photo looking northeast showing the area that would be cleared for the pond on the Sunridge property. You can see that the wastewater treatment plant is there in the background, and then there's a county road yard as well adjacent to that. This is also another photo of the proposed location for those two ponds. And the areas have been cleared, but construction has not begun on those. A mitigated negative declaration was prepared for the project by C2 Consults for the Cuyama CSD, and they are the lead agency on this project. The mitigated negative declaration concludes that all potentially significant impacts on the environment can be reduced to less than significant with mitigation. The Cuyama CSD adopted this document as the lead agency on the project on December 18th of 2014. The project can be found consistent with CEQA Section 15162, since there have been no substantial changes to the project or its circumstances, and there's no new information of substantial importance regarding the project, which was not known when the MND was adopted. The proposed project was reviewed and found consistent with the comprehensive plan, including applicable policies regarding land use, visual resources, hillside and watershed protection, streams and creeks, and flood hazards. The project is also consistent with the public utility and agricultural zone district standards contained in the Land Use and Development Code. Staff recommends that your commission make the required findings for approval of the project, including CEQA findings. Consider the environmental effects of the project as shown in the MND prepared by C2 Consults and adopted by the Cuyama CSD as the lead agency, as well as determine that none of the conditions in CEQA Guideline Section 15162 requiring a subsequent MND have occurred, and approve the project subject to the conditions included as attachments B1 and B2 in the staff report. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Edie. Do we have questions from commissioners about the project or the MND? I'm not seeing any. Do we have anyone representing the Community Services District that would like to address the commission?
Mr. Chairman, Planning Commission, my name is Reed Johnson. I'm the engineer for Cuyama CSD. John Coates from the board was planning to be here today, but he woke up feeling ill this morning, so he was unable to make it. So I don't have anything further to add unless there are questions.
Commissioner Blau?
I just have one question, curiosity. evaporation pond versus a recharge basin? Is it, just curious, I mean, Cuyama doesn't have enough water in the aquifer to do anything to speak of. I'm just curious, is there a reason we don't create a retention basin or retarding basin to try and recharge the effluent water?
Well, this is a State Water Resources Control Board to solve a problem for this this community, and the problem is regulation on the discharge in that creek. So EPA was flying people out from Virginia. I better shut up, making life hectic. And so even the Central Board suggested that we suggested this project and help get it funded. So this is to eliminate the surface discharge. And yes, sir, we could put it in the ground as recharge basins, but then you got to drill monitoring wells, you got to do testing, you got to do reporting. So the cheapest, no paperwork, no cost, disposal of water is evaporated away, and nobody wants to waste water. There's a grower next door who wants the water, and so this project puts a pump in it, and he can use the water as he chooses, and the water is reused. He's using drip irrigation, so that saves pumping out of the ground that he's using now. So yes, the water will be put to beneficial use. If anything goes wrong, this is designed to evaporate it all away at no regulation, cost, or hassle to the district. So it does both things. So there's evaporation ponds, and there's a pump there to use it for non-food crops. It's treated secondary irrigation water.
Thank you. Just generally, the water that is in the evaporation ponds has been treated, but it's not to drinking water standards. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. This is an existing secondary treatment plant for discharging the water into the dry creek beds. So this is, and then as there more and more regulation on NPDES permits, that becomes more problematic. So this is standard treated secondary disinfectant water that can be evaporated or can be used for irrigation. So this is not tertiary for putting on golf courses or human contact. This is standard secondary treated water, and as long as the grower follows those rules, then he can use it. This is for non-food crops. That's a nursery. I'm saying too much, but that's a real good nursery that creates the plants that are sold to vineyards to grow grapes and stuff. So they've got a large area to actually be the nursery, make the plants. They don't raise any grapes or anything there. They just graft and make the plants. So it is truly a non-food nursery, and they do very well. And they were happy to give us the land. We were happy to give them the water. The water's being wasted, so it's a very good agreement. And the water will be put to recycle and beneficial use, and that's in accordance with the Division of Drinking Water regulations and their permission and supervision. So this project is fully regulated, fully in compliance with everybody that has a party to it.
Sounds like a win all around, then.
Yes, yes. This is a problem-solving good project. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming.
Can I ask one more question?
Oh, sure. We have one more question, Mr. Johnson. Sorry. Commissioner St. John.
Hi. I talked with the staff at length yesterday about the fact that the county is a responsible agency under this permit, but that the lead agency is actually the water district, and that it will be in charge of implementing all of the mitigation measures that are identified in the mitigated negative declaration. And so I just wanted to confirm that's your understanding.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, yes. There's two pipelines that go underneath the creek, and they're drilled underneath the creek. There's nothing disturbed. They've actually completed those the last 2 days, and there's not a bit of disturbance. So it's horizontal directional drilling to take the water lines underneath the two creeks. And the Fish and Wildlife biologist was there. I met her on site, reviewed things. So yes, everything that's been identified environmentally that was needed, the pre-construction bird survey was done, everything that was mentioned. So it's on existing disturbed land. But yes, this is a state-funded project, and everything environmentally was identified and very conscientiously followed.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Johnson. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address the commission on this I see none here. Commissioner Brown, nobody in Santa Barbara?
No one here.
Okay, then I'll bring it back to staff and ask if you have anything to add before the commission deliberates.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, staff does not have anything additional to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Edie. Commissioner Blau.
Yeah, I have a question for staff. I'm just a little curious how we ended up having so much work done before they're getting their approval. Is that somewhat normal, or is there something I need to understand about that? It's kind of like if all the work's been done and they've done everything, why is it here now? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Blau, the applicant should not have started the work before they got their permit. So that's the short answer.
Sure. Given our time constraints today, we'll be a little liberal.
Well, the state funding agreement required that it be completed by the 1st of October, and the Central Coast Regional Quality Board required that it be completed, I think, by the end of August, but they've agreed to September 29th for the regional Central Coast Board. So they're pushing pretty heavy and so that was a condition in the funding agreement when it was funded, sir.
Well, I think just so the district is aware for the future, I think the fact that the Planning Commission hasn't considered the permit in the first place would be just cause to delay the deadlines the other agencies impose. So hopefully we can do it in the right order next time. Thank you.
Because we're the deliberations, I'll just make comment that I get it. I mean, the problem is you've got multiple agencies that have to approve it. You got agencies that are giving you notices of violation. It's I'm concerned that maybe the problem is that the county can't move fast enough sometimes. But I get the delays.
So, Mr. Chair, I don't know that we really want to get into this, but that was not the case. The first district processed a fee waiver quite some time ago, and the applicant did not apply. So I just don't want it to be left that it was at the fault of our department or the county. It was not.
Well, I think we need to get into it that far, at least, so the record's clear. But regardless, it appears to me that there is no reason to disapprove, and in fact, if this had been brought to us earlier, prior to any construction, I'm quite confident the Commission would agree that the project, while motivated by other agencies, is one we can endorse. I'd prefer not to make the motion. If one of my fellow commissioners would for me, we can move to the decision.
I just want to make sure everybody's done deliberating, Commissioner St. John. Yeah? Okay. Yeah, I move for approval of the project and move that we move forward with staff's recommendations and procedures as is on page 2 of the staff report.
And I'll second that.
Any further discussion of the motion? Commissioner Brown, any further discussion?
No, sir.
Okay. Then we're ready for the roll call.
Commissioner St. John.
Aye.
Commissioner Blau.
Aye.
Commissioner Farini.
Aye.
Commissioner Brown.
Aye.
Chair Cooney.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, that takes care of item number 1. Do we have anything else to address today, Ms. Black? All right, a short meeting. We'll borrow the time from this meeting and apply it to the 13th of September, I'm quite sure. Or the 30th, right. Time to come. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.